Hello, everybody. Welcome to our channel. If this is your first time, I am Lisa Anderson, along with my co-host, Joan Elizabeth. And we are Performance AnxieTEA, where we talk all about the performing arts here on our channel. And tonight, we're going to be talking about our 10 most impactful productions. So that's 5 from each of us. And I am excited to be here tonight. How are you doing, Joan?
I am so excited to sit here and talk about shows that we've been in the past. I want to hear about your experiences, and I have some doozies to share of my own. So.
Well, why don't you start? Let's just dive in.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll start with number 5 on my list, and these are kind of arbitrarily chosen. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, they're listed, but yeah, number 1 is actually number 1 on my list, but we'll get to that. So, number 5 would be a show that I did at the Ocala Civic Theater called 6 Women with Brain Death or Expiring Minds Want to Know. And I went out for this show specifically because of the title.
It's almost like 2 titles.
Yeah, it's got like a colon in the middle. And I was like, okay, that sounds weird.
Yeah.
Like especially weird for them, you know, because normally you hear they're doing like Hello Dolly or, you know, like stuff that you've heard of.
For people that don't know, the Ocala Civic Theater is one of the bigger theaters in the city that we live in here in Florida.
It's, as community theaters go, it's a very large community theater with a huge volunteer base. They actually have like a paid staff and they put on some amazing productions.
Yeah.
But I'm naturally drawn to things that are weird.
Yeah.
And somewhat off-putting, offbeat. So when I heard that they were doing this title, I was like, I've never heard of this. What the hell is this? I have to go out for it. I don't even care what it is. And I really wish I could tell you what the show was even about. Yeah. But it was such a fever dream of a production that I don't remember. All I really remember is the people that were in it because I made some of my best friends on that show. I met Amanda Harding and Megan Hilt, who I do Menagerie at Mutiny with. Very talented singers, both of them. And I just had such a blast doing that show.
So the Menagerie is kind of like is that a burlesque show? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that why it was impactful for you? Is because of the friends that you made in it, or what made it make your list?
I would say the fact that it was so strange and it was a musical too. And at that time, particularly musicals, even though I had been in a few of them, they were still outside of my comfort zone.
Okay.
So, I was like, I should do it because I have to sing in it, and it's, you know, it's good for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly because of the friends I made and just the amount of fun we had together. It's like we laughed so much. We laughed on stage too. We broke each other constantly.
That's the best.
The one thing that I really remember from that show is because it was a vignette style show. Okay. So that's why a lot of it is hazy to me. Like I remember one scene where Amanda was like a head on a platter singing and yeah, it was way out there. But there was one that was like, it was like Bambi and Rambo combined for some reason.
That sounds like the weirdest combination ever.
and it was Rambi.
Right.
And she had like a machine gun.
Oh my God.
And a machete. And then we were like forest animals, but you know, I was a frog. And so I just had like a furry frog hat on.
Oh my God.
And so we were just like frolicking around like little forest animals and like la la la, like singing in the background for no discernible reason.
I was gonna say, this doesn't sound anything like the title that it is at all.
It was so bizarro world, the whole show. And the woman playing Rambi was hilarious. Yeah. She was so funny. She delivers this rant of a monologue that, again, I can't even tell you what it was about because it was so weird. And then she would make this like turn to all of us and she'd look at us like, and we would just die. We just die right there. So again, it was just one of the most fun productions.
What was the audience like? So if you're taking like this type of theater where they're used to really traditional shows, what was their reaction to something like that?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Lisa, because they hated it. The audience hated us. They hated that show. People walked out at intermission. They walked out during the show. They would come up to us after the show and tell us what they thought.
Oh my gosh.
But incidentally enough, my parents came to see it. They came the last day.
Okay.
To the matinee, and I was like thinking, crap, they are going to eviscerate the show.
Yeah.
And then after it was over, my dad called me and he goes, Joni, that was the best thing we've ever seen on that stage.
Oh my
that
gosh.
was so good. I was like, what? He's like, your mom and I have never laughed so hard. She's in the background going, yeah, that was so funny. I'm like, but yeah, no, it was just a lot of fun. So much fun.
Awesome. That's awesome. My first is not that crazy. It might kind of go in chronological order because that's the way my brain works.
That works for me.
Yeah. So number 5 for me would be the first show that actually got me on stage, which was my sophomore year of high school.
Oh,
yeah, and I auditioned for Schoolhouse Rock.
So is that similar to like the television show?
Yes, it is. It's all the music,
Yeah. Don't get me started. I'll start singing it.
I know. I was just in my head. I'm going, 3 is a magic number. But yeah, I was so terrified though. I went on stage and to audition. I froze. And I couldn't. And so a couple of my friends came up with me and I had to literally face away from the people that were in there to audition and the director and stuff. So I did not get a big role. But it's high school. Yeah, it's high school, and it was a big cast, so they could have all the extras and things like that. So I was coarse, but it really helped me to develop a little bit of self-confidence to be able to be on stage, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it definitely had a lot of crazy moments. You're in high school, you're running around. It's just, our costumes were so simple. They were just white t-shirts and shorts. Yeah. And that's all they were, and stuff. But it was a really, it really helped me say, okay, I can be on stage.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. I grew up watching all the old movies and the musicals and, and dreamed about being on stage. And I had been in such little church plays and different things like that weren't really that impactful. It didn't feel like theater to me, right? You're just like a little kid doing, the Christmas show. You
don't really know. The stakes are very low in some of those. Yeah.
So
and auditioning it's scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
I don't think that changes too much.
No. I mean, I don't if I audition for things, I don't really get the shakes anymore like I used to.
Yeah.
And the mush mouth kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's nerve-wracking.
It is nerve-wracking, yeah. But I really enjoyed it. My whole high school career was on stage. I didn't do any backstage stuff until later, which I'll get into. But I'm glad I did that, even though I never want to do on stage again. I will always be happy to be backstage.
It's a good experience.
But it was a very good experience doing that. That was the first time that I ever probably really hurt myself, and not the last time running around backstage.
Oh no.
Because they had the have you ever seen those music shells that they use for bands and stuff to help the music come forward?
Probably.
Okay, maybe. So they're on.
I'm not a musicalist, so I
and I'm probably not even really giving them the proper name, but basically they're like a wall, and they're on wheels, and you can make a whole row of them, but they're just a section, right?
Okay,
and then they have these bars in the back, and it was a 3 bar system. And
did you break yourself on one of those?
Oh, I hit it with my shin, fell straight down, landed with the bar right down my middle. I knocked the wind out of myself. It was not
that
good.
Sounds so painful.
It was very painful. But no, that was really fun. But I think that's why it was so impactful to me, was because it was just, it was the first time that I ever got to experience that and have those memories of crazy theater life
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah. So what is your fourth?
Number 4 would have to be Guys and Dolls. It's not the first time that I got to play a principal role in a musical, but one to that extent, because I played Adelaide.
Okay.
So I remember the moment that I remember specifically is the stage manager calling me to offer me the part, because I was like thinking, if I get anything in the show, it's going to be ensemble, and that's just stick me in the ensemble somewhere and let me kind of just blend and do my thing and have fun with it.
Yeah.
When she called, she said, "We'd like to offer you the part of Adelaide," and I said, "Do you know who you called?" You got this is Joan. Jenny, do you have the right person, or did you call the right number? She's like, yeah, and she was so excited, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm doing this. Guess I'm doing it. Okay. So, and I had to sing in character voice, and it was one of the biggest roles I ever took on.
What was the voice like?
Well, Adelaide, she talks like this because, she's like this dancing girl. And
gosh. And then you had to sing that way too?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because it's kind of ugly.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ugly singing voice, but, she's obnoxious and kind of a little shrill. And
yeah. And how was your throat at the end of
It was fine.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of it was up in the head. So it wasn't like a real throaty kind of.
Yeah.
So it didn't kill my voice, which was actually kind of nice.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was exhausting, but,
How long did that run for?
I think 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And most shows in my mind are just a blur. Mm-hmm. And I remember little smudges here or there. The one thing I really remember from that is for Bushel and a Peck, I got to wear this magnificent headdress that was made of feathers, and it was it made me 8 feet tall.
Oh.
And I looked like a drag queen, and I felt amazing.
That's amazing.
It was so fun.
I love it.
So much fun.
I love it. I think that's the only thing I miss from being on stage is the makeup and the costume and, just living that extra bit. Because there's something about, you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse, and then you get into costume, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I see you. Yeah.
I see you there. Yeah.
My next one, I think we'll still go chronological, but I'm gonna throw one out there in a little bit that's out of order.
That's fine. But I need you to know that I'm horrible with remembering dates. So when I tell you years that these things happened, I'm guesstimating.
I am too, if we're really honest.
Yeah.
Not that I know they're chronological, because I know that which one happened first, but not what years or anything like that. I wouldn't be able to tell you years. So, but no, that I would say the next, obviously I did several shows in high school, mm-hmm. but the next big impact, and I want to say, and I could have the show wrong, and see, that's the thing, but I want to say it was Romeo and Juliet, and I tried out for it. I went to a community college, and they actually had a really fantastic theater program, believe it or not. And the director was formerly from New York, and just very serious about theater, and fantastic. And I didn't get the part, but he called me into his office. I didn't get any part, and he called me into his office, and he said, "I think you'd make a really great stage manager, and I want to train you on that." And so that was the first time that I had ever done anything backstage, and it was right into stage managing. And he was very much a professional on how he wanted the stage. So it was like having another full-time job. Yeah. Because there was rehearsals almost 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
And he was one of the directors that the stage manager needed to be there, because even though he had a good idea of where the blocking was, and he expected the actors to write it down, he also expected the stage manager to write it all down
Yeah.
and everything, especially if he had a spontaneous moment, which was always hilarious with him because he was very energetic and he would jump up and down and get really excited. And then you had, oh, we got something good coming. He'd be like, yes, try this, you know?
Well, and I'm guessing that it was a really positive experience too.
It was extremely positive.
Yeah.
And I stage managed a couple of shows for him.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And it led to a bunch of other things, shows on my list that I will tell about in a little bit. But
Wonderful.
I learned a lot about myself and confidence because I think that was really probably the first time that I was in a leadership role, if I think about it too. And he was very much, run the show, like I'm there for the first night to give people notes kind of a thing. And then it was like, you run the show.
Yeah. Isn't that such a surreal feeling when the show goes up and the director's like, all right, bye, it's yours.
Yep. Here you go.
Okay.
I hope I have all my notes right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. All my cues and everything. Oh,
yeah. There was only one show. I think it did 3 or 4 shows at that community college. But there was only one show that I didn't do, and it was, and I wound up actually being on stage for it in the chorus, was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, okay, nice.
But he was one of those directors that you had to read music and know how to do stage managing with music kind of a thing. And I didn't know, I could read music barely, to get by in choir, but not to follow along. And because he would put directions and lighting and different things according to the music.
And was that kind of the beginning of you wanting to be more in that role rather than being on stage?
Yes. Yeah. I really seriously, because of him, thought about pursuing stage managing as a career. I also hit the reality of what it would really be like to try to do that for a living. Not that easy. It would be about as easy as trying to be an actor. So, but yeah, that one was definitely impactful for me.
Very cool.
Yeah. So what's your next one?
So my next one on my list, we're up to number 3, is Assassins. Yeah. And the reason itself is not the show, because the production was primarily not good. It was. I'm going to stay away from the negative.
So in other words, there was drama off stage. Yeah.
And there was a lot that was chaotic and disorganized about it. There was a lot going on at the time that was not positive. We had some actors that we had one actor that had to be excused from the production because she kind of melted down, and it was a whole thing. Yeah. But, that always makes things interesting. But the thing that really I took away from that show was because I got to play Giuseppe Zangara. For anyone who doesn't know, Assassins is a Stephen Sondheim musical about people that have attempted either successfully or in vain to assassinate various presidents.
Yeah.
It's a kind of controversial show because of the content and because of the ending, especially.
Yeah.
But it's another real fever dream of a show.
Yeah. And this one wasn't at the same theater, though.
No.
As Guys and Dolls and
no.
stuff. This was at a different theater.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Smaller theater.
Yeah.
More of a black box setting, which is another thing that really that I enjoy.
Yeah. This one probably would have the audience for that theater probably would have done really well with your crazy show.
Was 6 women?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If nothing else, people would have been like, I don't know what the hell I just saw, but it was entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slightly different demographic there. But yeah, I got to play a man, which was kind of something I always wanted to explore. I really enjoy gender bending on stage. Mm-hmm. Playing more, I like playing masculine parts. I don't know, something about it works for me, and I've gone on to do other male characters since then. So, and I got to sing from an electric chair, which was a very a specially built electric chair, which was not a real one, of course.
Oh,
but
bam.
Yeah, a prop electric
prop
chair.
one. Well,
And then I got to keep it afterwards.
did you really? Do you still have it?
No.
No.
No. I don't still have it, but I did for a long time.
Yeah.
And-
Was it like a fixture piece in your living room?
yeah, it was in my bedroom.
Nice. Here's my electric chair in my bedroom. That's amazing.
Yeah, anyone ever doubts that I have a wicked, morbid sense of humor, that's
That'll
right there.
do. Right there.
So, yeah. The little factoid from history, if you don't know, Giuseppe Zangara he actually killed the mayor of Chicago.
Oh.
And was trying to kill FDR.
Okay.
And then he got sent to the electric chair. And so the song that my character sang in that show was from the electric chair.
Oh,
right
my
before
gosh.
they pull the lever.
I know of the show, but I've never actually seen it. If I remember right from what I've heard of it, that's a pretty crazy piece. Like
Yeah.
singing crazy. Like,
Yeah, because he was. I won't bore everyone with history. Actually, it's really interesting history. Because I researched the part. I researched the man before I did the show because I was just interested to know his history. And he was an Italian immigrant and suffered very severe stomach pain.
okay.
He had a botched appendectomy.
Oof.
Which caused him to have even worse stomach pain, abdominal pain. And people think now that is what caused him to maybe have hallucinations.
Okay.
And caused him to have these delusions that the president was, the reason for his suffering and all this kind of, And I think he's quoted as saying right before he was just like, pull the switch, like right before he was executed. So
wow, that's crazy.
yeah, so it was, that's another show that's very surreal. It's not really done in real time. It's like it kind of exists outside of linear time where all these characters from different time periods are interacting with each other and telling their stories to each other, and some in dialogue and some in song. So it's a very strange show, but it's a really good one too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
My third one, was impactful in a different way.
Okay.
So
Interested.
yeah, so let's see, we're still in the Midwest and no longer in school. So we're down in near the Twin Cities area.
Okay.
Okay. My roommate and I had both been stage managers for that same director. Like we had met in college, and she had taken over stage managing after I had left college.
Okay.
And we were both really itching to be back into the theater world. And, when you're in the Twin Cities area, there is a lot to choose from, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get to be involved in all of that. And so we had picked one that was close to home. It was a different experience. The show was Evita. And
okay, nice.
And so they had it was a community theater, but it was a big theater. So even bigger than OCT. So they had regular tech crew that were paid.
Okay.
But they also had volunteer tech crew. And so we got put on Spotlight, which I had never done before. But it was also really strange for me because having come from being stage manager where you're at the show all the way through and getting to know everybody, to only having to go dress rehearsal week was kind of strange. But it was the show was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The show was amazing. But the atmosphere was what was impactful to me because it was the first time that I really experienced that separation of tech crew over here, actors over here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't a great feeling. It was just, it was like the actors definitely felt like they were better than the tech crew, and the tech crew didn't want anything to do with the actors. And there was no inviting, let's all go out and after the show or rehearsal type of a thing. And then the closing show, I want to say it was dinner at the director's house, but it was at somebody's house anyway. And I remember going in and all the actors were basically in one room at one table, and all of the tech crew were at a table in another room.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it was connected by like the doorway. You could see into each other's rooms, but it was
that's
just
even extreme though. Like, because that sort of segregation naturally does tend to happen.
Yeah,
for whatever reason, which I've never really fully understood.
No, because the shows. Really?
You all need each other to make the thing happen.
Yeah,
you know, everyone is, I believe, is of equal importance.
I agree.
But putting you in separate rooms, like here, tech crew, tech goblins, go
over there,
go in this room and don't let us see you.
Yeah.
Here's our crumbs. Like, it just feels.
It felt icky. It felt really icky.
Feels gross.
Yeah, and we didn't stay very long. You know, I think we ate our dinner and left.
Yeah.
It just was not.
Did everyone kind of seem to have the same reaction to that? Like,
I don't really remember, to be honest. I just remember, like, we didn't really have much of a chance to get to know people well enough, you know, and I just remember it being such a weird, icky.
Y'all should have gone and, like, had your own, like, party at.
Right? Yeah. But I remember my roommate and I were just both very, like, yeah, let's leave. This is weird, you know, like, I'm not comfortable here, you know.
Did you ever do anything with that theater again?
No. No, we did not ever do anything. Yeah. I don't even know. Like, she lived in that area a lot longer than me. I don't think she ever went back either.
Yeah.
You know, it was really sad. It wasn't until I moved back down, until I moved to this area that I did stuff with theater again. Yeah. So what's your fourth one?
So number 2 is the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory Shadowcast, because I directed it.
Yeah.
And I had assistant directed Shadowcast before, and I had directed the Rocky Horror Picture Show Shadowcast. So I had some experience, but this was an entirely new production.
Well, I don't know. Has a Shadowcast ever been done of Willy Wonka prior to that?
Not that I'm aware of, because I think I probably tried to look on YouTube and I couldn't find anything.
If anybody out there knows of somebody else that did Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory Shadowcast, please comment, because I want to know how many weird movies, because we know someone in the area that just got a kick out of doing the weirdest shadow casts because he got tired of doing Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
We just started doing shadow casts of different movies, a lot of nostalgic films like, you know, Jurassic Park and Jaws and
Princess Bride.
And, you know, when I was asked to direct Willy Wonka, at first I was like, oh, directing, because I don't know. I don't know how I get, like, tapped for leadership roles, because I don't generally want them. I'm like,
well, you must be good at them.
Maybe, yeah. So I don't know.
Well, I've seen you, and I can answer that. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm like, I don't want to do it, but it was a really positive experience, and it was the first time I had to actually have, like, a little come to Jesus with a cast, a whole cast, where I was like, guys, get your shit together, you know, like in a kind of like a motivational way.
Yeah.
And also the thing I found that I really enjoyed about directing a Shadowcast is that you invite a lot of creative input from the cast.
Yeah.
Which is not something you typically do with a normal production, with a straight play or a musical, you know, because you don't want too many
cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen is going to make it really chaotic. But with a Shadowcast, you're inviting them to play.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because you have to try to figure out how are they going to actually do these things.
Yeah.
And what are they going to have for props that make it look like it's the prop from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also really challenging because for a lot of performers, it's a new kind of genre. It's a new sort of territory.
Yeah.
They're not used to it. If they haven't done Rocky Horror, they don't really know what they're doing. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. They literally don't know what it is that they're doing.
Right. They don't. I don't think they realize if they've never done it before or even seen Rocky Horror that you have to know the movie. Like you have to know your part and where they're moving and because that's part of what the shadow cast is. Yeah.
And while to give a little context for anyone out there who is listening who may not know what a shadow cast is, it's basically actors in front of the screen while the movie plays in the background. The actors are acting out what's happening on the screen.
Okay.
And generally doing lip reading at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you might be like, well, why would anyone do that? And it goes back to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and there's a long history of this happening. Google that. It's a fascinating history if you want to know about that. Mm-hmm. But in more recent years, different theater companies have started this trend of doing shadow casts of other films and a lot of nostalgic movies, a lot of, like tentpole classics, and and what's unique about it is you kind of make it your own.
You do.
So you kind of like use different props and you kind of make it silly. Like you make it more.
Well, yeah. If you want a good example of that, when they did The Princess Bride, mm-hmm. that has one of the most iconic sword scenes mm-hmm. in movie history.
Yeah.
And real sword fighting. Like those actors practiced every single day to be able to do that. And so I remember the director of that trying to figure out how are we going to even possibly recreate that scene.
Yeah.
And so instead of recreating that scene, he had the actors start doing the sword fighting. And then when they really got into it, they stopped, went and grabbed chairs and popcorn, sat down and watched.
Yeah.
That was just kind of like and playing back and forth like, hey, you got me, and, like
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
You find ways to kind of make it unique and, kind of infuse it with the personality of the cast. Like I remember when I assistant directed Jurassic Park, we had a bunch of new actors to shadow cast who didn't really understand the format. They were kind of finding their footing. We had one performer though who played Ellie, who played Laura Dern's character.
Yeah.
And she got it right away because she's a dancer.
Okay.
So she understood that while this isn't dancing, there's a certain dancerly quality to it, to mm-hmm. where you're actually you're looking at body language.
Right.
You're looking at how to almost exaggerate mm-hmm. body language and facial expression.
Yeah.
So she understood that sort of intrinsically right away.
Okay.
And that helped the other actors kind of, find their footing. And, with the shadow casts, like with Willy Wonka, I had a lot of new actors, I had a lot of kids mm-hmm. too, which was its own kind of challenge.
Yeah.
Some of the kids just got it right away and were great, and they were all really good. But it was, it's very tiring directing a shadow cast. So that was a memorable experience. The joy of it is on opening night, and with directing too, you kind of lose concept of time mm-hmm. and self-care.
Very true.
You're
do.
like, I think I showered yesterday, but I don't remember. I've got to work on the show. I got to get with the lighting designer and make sure that all my props are here. And so you're so hyper focused on it, and when you're directing too, because you're in that leadership role. Mm-hmm. The actors all of a sudden become like your children in a weird way. And you're like, I can't let them fail.
Yeah.
I need to make sure they're good.
Yeah.
And that's when you have the meeting where you bring them all on stage and you're like, guys, I need you to focus.
Yeah. Now I wonder what that's like. 'Cause only ever having done community type theater, mm-hmm. Or high school theater or anything like that, and not having really done it professionally, I wonder if it's the same feeling for directors that have done that? Like, do you think that most directors are like, these are my babies, we can't let everybody fail? Or are they like, I can't let this fail because I directed it and my name's on it and these actors better know what they're doing? Like, have you ever done like actual professional stage stuff before?
In that capacity, no.
Yeah.
No.
But like any capacity.
I've done paid theater.
Yeah.
So I have been paid to perform.
Yeah.
And to direct. Not much, but I consider that professional.
Yeah, I do. But if anybody,
but where it's actually like your job.
Yeah, like New York or LA or like the bigger whatever.
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to it personally, so I don't know. But I would imagine maybe it's not as personal.
Yeah,
because you can always replace professional actors, I guess.
That's true.
It's probably a little.
Yeah. If anybody has done professional stage, let us know.
Let us know.
Seriously curious. Yeah.
We want to know what your thoughts and feelings are on that, because I strictly come from community theater pretty much.
Me too. And I love it. I would say my next impactful show for me was coming into this area. So I came into this area because my father had moved down here and he asked me to come down and manage his online hobby business.
Okay.
So I'm originally from the Midwest, which but they didn't. So I told them. And now I'm in Florida where we're recording. And but I was working from home and didn't know anybody. And this was before, Facebook events and ways so you had like meetup.com, I think was the best way to figure out how to meet somebody and do, so old school, close to MySpace time, I had reached out to the other community theater and hadn't gotten any response. And I was really needing to be involved. And I had seen an improv show. It was like this smaller theater called Insomniac Theater, which are some of the shows that you were talking about were done in that theater. But they had just gotten into a building. So they had been a mobile troupe before and they had just gotten into a building. And so it was one of their first shows in that building. But I didn't know that coming in.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my God, I didn't even know these people existed. This is amazing. And luckily, it was a small theater because I reached out and I was like, I will do anything. I don't care if I hold programs. I don't care if I hold a wooden duck backstage for somebody. I don't care. I just need to be involved. And I got a call back. And the guy, and he says he was our director and now my significant other for many years. But he called me and he says, well, I don't have any wooden ducks, but I have rubber chickens. Will that do?
And you said, no, they must be wooden ducks.
Yes, they must be wooden ducks. But no, I wound up doing a lot of stage managing for them. But the first show I stage managed was Shakespeare Abridged.
That was such a good show.
It was such a great show. Yeah. And they had a guest director come in from one of the high schools. And it was so
funny.
Wonderful show to first be involved with in that theater and stumble into being one of their main stage managers for a couple of years. And obviously it impacted me in my romantic life as well to, eventually date that guy. But that guy.
It was such that was such a good show. And that was like where that was the first show I saw in that space. And that was really special. It was special building.
It was a fun show, special building. But so what is your number one?
Number one for me happened in the exact same space, and it was the Rocky Horror Show, the musical,
the live musical, not the shadow cast,
not the shadow cast, not the movie, the musical. Because that same guy announced I had been involved in a series of one-act plays because, again, like you, I just moved back here and I was like, I just need something to do, creative. I don't care what. And so I got involved and I directed a few of the one-act plays and I had bit parts in a few of them too. And then he was like, we're going to do Rocky Horror. And I was like, yes, we're going to do the Shadowcast. And then he was like, the musical. And I was like, fuck, I can't sing. I don't sing. I had a dreadful fear of singing in front of anyone. I like for years long phobia of singing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do it. But I love Magenta. And I know she has to sing. The way the musical generally works, the canon is she does the opening song, which is science fiction double feature.
Yeah.
And even though I had sung that song 1,000 times in the car alone with no one listening or watching,
yeah,
I was like, well, I have to get on stage and sing this in front of the director, and that's terrifying. I can't do that.
No.
But a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine who really wanted to audition, kind of dragged me to it. He was like, you have to go audition with me. And I was like, fine. So I went.
Didn't he was that the same friend that wound up playing Frankenfurter? Yeah. That's what
Yeah. And so I went in. I remember walking through there. The building is this old bank building, and it has this big, beautiful, like French door in the front. And I remember opening that door, and it felt like especially heavy that day. And I walked in, and I walked up to the director, who was a young woman, a little bit older than myself. And I walked up to her, and I was like, so here's the thing. I introduced myself, and I'm like, I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
This movie is so important to me, and I love it. I've loved it since I was 13 years old when I first saw it, and I really want to be a part of this. But I don't sing. I can dance. I can dance. I'll say words on stage, but I don't sing. And she goes, well, what part are you interested in? And I was like, I really, really love Magenta. And she's like, okay, how about this? She's like, do you know the opening song, Science Fiction Double Feature? I was like, I know every word. And she's like, okay, well, If it's just me and you and the music director in here, do you think you could get on stage and sing a few bars? I'm like, I don't know what bars are, but okay. I'm like, sure.
Real newbie to music, right?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what a bar is, but yeah, okay. I can sing some words.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah. And so I got up there, I started singing it, and I'm doing it as like my recollection of it is I was like, Michael Rainey was told the day the earth stood still. And she stops me. And I'm like, oh my God, I am making their ears bleed.
Oh,
that's why she's stopping me.
Yeah.
And she goes, I just want to stop you to let you know you have a really beautiful singing voice. And I was like, huh? And she had me like sing a few other things. And that was, it was just really nice to be validated after having those just years of phobia about singing. And then opening night, I was utterly terrified. I was like, oh God, it's because we didn't know what to expect as far as audience turnout. The show sold out.
It's crazy.
So there were like, it was a small space.
Yeah.
But I think it could fit like 80?
I would say 80 to 100 seats.
80 to 100 seats in there?
Because the way you had the design, I think there would have been 80 to 100.
So I think there were at least 80 people in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta go sing this song and
Did you make that face too?
beforehand. But here's the thing, because it was in a black box, it was so intimate, and you can see everyone out in the audience.
Yes.
You could see every person.
Well, and you guys started by coming down.
Yeah. I had to walk
through
through the aisle and like stare. Part of my blocking was to stare people down.
Yeah.
Like individual audience members.
Yeah,
and
I remember that being in the audience. Yeah.
Oh my God. I was so scared, but the adrenaline rush after it was over, and, you know, finding out after the show that everyone loved it and had such a great time. Yeah. Like I was totally fine after that, but that was hugely impactful.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Deal. So my last one, you know, I'm going to use this one. I don't know that the whole show was impactful in any way. that was like life-changing or anything like that. But the show itself had so many different memorable moments. So I think it was impactful in that way. And it was that same theater, and one of the board members had gone to the artistic director and was like, I really want to do Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
And he
It's a good
said,
show.
yeah. And, you know, he was like, I think it's too big for us. But finally he gave in and said that they could do it. And to be honest, it almost was too big, you know, like literally.
Yeah, that's a big production.
You weren't part of any of the backstage.
I wasn't,
And
no.
did you come in and help at all build anything?
No, I was doing something else. Or I think I was doing Steel Magnolias.
Okay. Yeah. So
The other theater.
Insomniac Theater really held up to its name for that show. Like people were there at all hours of the night.
I heard.
Literally putting on details on the large puppet, like throughout the first act. We were cleaning the area and setting up
my
chairs 10 minutes
God.
before the house opened. And it was crazy. It was just
felt like,
yeah, it was nuts. And I was stage managing. I was not going to be involved in this show. Like I was starting, I don't remember if I was doing, no, it was because it was a musical and I didn't read music.
okay.
But the director was like, that's not how I do musicals. He's like, you'll be just fine. You don't have to read the music. And they couldn't find another stage manager. So like 2 weeks before the show was set to go on, like they were begging me, please, we don't have a stage manager. We need, and finally I gave in. But it was just crazy. Like there was all these different moments. There was just a lot of, I think it was very impactful because of those moments. So like, you know, it was the first time I ever made anybody cry as a stage manager.
Oh, and that's rough.
Yeah, that was difficult. It was one of those, we had to let somebody go.
Yeah.
And so it was somebody that was like basically there overnight trying to learn. They weren't an understudy. They were trying to learn this part brand new, you know, and
It's so hard.
They wanted me to run the show, not like a community theater, but like a professional production, which meant that the way I was taught in community college meant that our crew couldn't make noises. They had to have things done in 30 seconds, you know, and that was new for them. That wasn't something like, you know, keeping quiet and things like that, but really doing it like you're supposed to. That was a whole new situation for everybody involved. And so I was running drills constantly. And so this poor gal just lost it because it was tech. So even though it was for the tech crew, the actors had to be involved in all of it so that the tech crew could get it done right.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad.
Did she come in like really late into the?
Yeah. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before the show.
Goodness.
So lots of stress.
Yeah.
And
I probably would have lost my mind.
I probably would have too. I probably would have just been a ball of tears, you know, and lack of sleep on everybody's part. And you know how tech weeks go anyway. You're there until all hours of the night anyway, not to mention. And, and then we had somebody that came in and wound up being really involved in the show, but it was a friend of one of the cast members came in to buy a ticket and got harangued into being a tech person.
That's how it happens.
Yeah, we were running a drill and I looked down and there was an extra body and a person I'd never seen before. And I like, stop, who are you?
I'm here to buy a ticket. How would you like to see the show?
For free.
For free. Like 15 to 20 times.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? So, and then like little funny moments, like, one of the opening night, the first change over, one of the tech people got stuck, had to dive into the box where we would have had the puppet, countertop thing, and stay in there for the whole act because there was no scene change and then it hadn't gone quite as smooth and they had to like make a split decision. Do I get seen running off stage with the lights on or do I dive into this counter.
Oh my gosh.
And stuff. So there was a lot of fun little nuances. It was a very stressful show. It was a really, they pulled it off really well, especially when they were, the director was like, this show's going to be too big. It was such a small theater, like you said, and it was a huge set. That was, I mean, you can't do that show without a huge set.
Yeah, as I recall when I saw it, because I think I saw it twice, and it that was one of the most elaborate sets I had seen on that stage. And I was like, holy crap, how did they pull this off?
There was no budget for us to be able to rent a lot of these things. So it was all like we made our own Audrey and you made everything. And so that was pretty crazy.
You couldn't just rent an Audrey too for $1,000 from
No,
such and such?
No, we had to have free
Bullshit
labor
warehouse,
and
lots and lots of spray paint.
Yes. Make it for $200 or less or whatever. I have no idea what it costs, but it was a lot cheaper than renting and not necessarily in time.
And I mean, all you had to pay for it is just a
few sleepless nights.
Sleepless nights and brain cells,
Yeah.
But
so
who needs those things?
Who needs them? Well, Joan,
Lisa,
we've shared our memories.
Yeah, there's so many more too, but that's
oh my gosh.
Just, the tip of the iceberg.
That is the tip of the How do you narrow down all your favorite things into, 5?
Yeah.
We say 10 most impactful, but that's just 5 for each of us.
5 for each of us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to hear what your most impactful moments are. So please leave us comments below. If you enjoyed this show, don't forget to hit that like button and all that good stuff. We hope you guys watch us on the next show, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.